What's up? It's Chris from Hair Loss from Steroids, and we're going to hit up a pretty common question with rather a surprising answer. And that question is, does creatine cause hair loss? And it's been a long kind of thought thing that among doctors that it does, because they kind of pair anything that's a supplement. It could be a fucking vitamin for that matter, and they call it a steroid. Okay, doctors, and we're not talking about dietitians or doctors that also have like a master's in nutrition, although there are very few, or sports medicine doctors. We're talking about your general clueless, no offense, GPs that kind of, they didn't grow up in the era of supplements, okay, and largely supplements are crap, but they also seem to think every one of them is dangerous and stuff like that, which is actually not the case. Most supplements just don't do anything. Alright, so they seem to think creatine's a steroid. Okay, we know better. No, it's not. Okay, because if it was a steroid, it could possibly cause hair loss. Now, the supplement companies, advertisers, and the mainstream thought among bodybuilders, however, is, of course, creatine's not a steroid, it's a supplement, and therefore it doesn't cause hair loss. Okay, so both popular schools of thought are actually incorrect. And this is actually something I learned too, that while I was kind of the notion of, no, it's a supplement, it's a non-hormonal supplement, it won't cause any hair loss because it causes no rise in DHT whatsoever. That has actually been disproven, and that's interesting to me. It's news to me as of a couple years ago, okay, when the study came out. And that study is in the Clinical Journal of Sports Medicine. It's a Canadian journal, actually, published September 2009. Looking at it right here. Basically, they took 20 college rugby players, all right, in South Africa. So these were trained, athletes. They're not just, newbies who have fresh receptors. Whether they've taken creatine or not, I don't know, but they're trained athletes, okay? They're not someone that will explode from any little kind of nutritional or hormonal change to their body, okay? 20 of these athletes for a 6-week period, and they gave these guys creatine with a loading phase, a standard loading phase of 25 grams a day, okay? Another group got the placebo, which means, a sugar pill with no creatine, and hopefully not sugar because that's bad for you. But the results were this. The group that was taking creatine during the loading phase, okay, saw a 56%. And that's significant, okay? 56% increase in DHT after 7 days. And now, if you're familiar with creatine, you'll know that you have to do a loading phase after your first, 7 to 10 days or so of, a maintenance phase, sorry about that, after your 7 days of loading it. So you'll take a dose of like 25 to 30 grams a day for a week, get it saturated in the muscles, and then you just want to maintain it after that. Okay, so in the 14 days thereafter, I don't know why their kind of cycle was 3 weeks, it was probably just for the purposes of this study, creatine or DHT remained elevated during that creatine phase by 36%, okay, so 56% during the first 7 days of loading, 25 grams of creatine a day. 36 grams during the maintenance phase, which was the second 2 weeks, week 2 and 3, elevated by 36%, okay? So it does raise DHT levels. Anything that raises DHT levels can be, a culprit of hair loss. It can be, it can accelerate it. So while creatine is not a hormonal supplement, it's not, okay? It is not a derivative of testosterone in any way. Basically, it's one of those unique ones that can increase your DHT levels, okay? And another thing that was interesting to point out, and I'm making this point here, where, the sample size is small, 20 athletes, okay? But the interesting thing here is these were trained athletes, okay? You take someone who's, not been in the gym in several years or ever, you get them lifting weights, you get them training, their test levels will go up. In 7 days, I don't know about that, but these, they were a good, the study is legit, okay? They were a good sample, okay? The sample size is small, 20, but I do think the study definitely holds credence. And the interesting thing is here is, and this is my speculation here, HGH might be safer on the hair than creatine. Okay, like I said, if you see my video, does HGH cause hair loss? The answer is perhaps, but it's likely to be shedding. Okay, because it doesn't actually increase DHT, or only very marginally. Certainly less than creatine, 56%, only marginally. So any hair loss from HGH would probably be shedding. It's just a simple hormonal fluctuations in balance and should return to normal. Creatine, on the other hand, there is evidence that it does and it can cause hair loss. So if you were to use it and you're concerned about accelerating it, finasteride would be a good idea. And I do think, and obviously these college rugby players, probably none of them were on finasteride. There's probably wouldn't qualify for the study because that would obviously influence it quite a bit. But finasteride does a really good job of lowering DHT that converts from testosterone. Okay, so in theory it would be effective against DHT created by creatine supplementation. Okay, not against things like Dianabol and Tren. Okay, because the pathway that testosterone converts to DHT is different in that case. In that case, it's just straight up DHT. In order for finasteride to work, you have to break that pathway from testosterone turning into DHT, okay? And that is what finasteride does, and it would be successful in theory, okay, against creatine supplementation. In my opinion, though, and I'm very sensitive to male pattern baldness, creatine didn't really accelerate my hair loss. Possibly, though, now I go back thinking on it, but, it wasn't significant. It wasn't like steroids, okay? Even though a 56% increase, at least during the first 7 days, is significant. So I would proceed with caution with creatine, and this goes very much against what I've thought for years. Okay, like I said, I learned this a few years ago, but it does very much go against the fact that creatine's not a steroid, it's a supplement, it's a non-hormonal supplement, can't do anything. It won't create any sort of hair loss or increase in DHT. That has been disproven, and I would proceed with caution.